Okay, I need to go ahead and call this meeting to order and apologize for putting the wrong room on the top of the agenda. I apologize for that. I did tell you all that it would be in his room, but apparently you read exactly what you're supposed to do, so I apologize for that. The first thing we have on the agenda is approval of minutes from the last meeting. The minutes have been posted, so we're not going to read them. And a formal motion to approve is not needed. Are there any corrections to the minutes from the last meeting?
To approve.
All right, well, without any further corrections, as we don't have any, we actually don't have to vote. I read Robert's rules this week, so minutes are approved. Right now, the next on the agenda is administrative reports. We don't have any at this time. Just want to check. So, yep, we don't have any administrative reports. So we'll move on to committee reports. The first committee to present is Curriculum Committee. The chair recognizes Dr. Charlene Simmons as chair for the Curriculum Committee to present proposals for review and vote.
We have two proposals that are spring proposals, meaning they were submitted for the spring deadline, and if approved, they will become available in the upcoming spring semester. So there were two new courses, 1802, which is Math 4530, and 1803, which is HHP 3650. So it comes from committee, so it doesn't need a second. So on to discussion and vote.
Yeah, is there any discussion on the two curriculum proposals? I will add that, I didn't hear you say this, it was 8-0 vote.
Correct, it's 8-0 vote.
Is there any discussion pertaining to the curriculum proposals? All right, let's see done. I will go ahead and call the question to vote, and we're going to need a hand count on this. So if you would please, all those in favor, if you're a senator and you're in favor, please raise your hand. I'll take that. All right, hands down, thank you. All those opposed? All right. So it's 32-0.
And then the committee has two other items very quickly. First, just a reminder that this year the deadline for fall proposals is earlier. It is October 15th, that's less than a month away. So please remind your departments, your deans, your heads, etc. that the deadline this year is earlier, October 15th. And question?
Yeah, I see that as I was trying to come up with
yes.
the deadline of November 1st or October 23rd.
Oh, you're right. It's November 1st. No, you're right. So it used to be November 15th. It's November 1st. Thank you. We moved it up 15 days, so I couldn't remember which way that. 15. November 1st. November 1st. A little more than a month. Yes.
I don't know.
It is November 1st. I was thinking something else. I got my 15 and 1 mixed up. November 1st, so that's a little over a month away. The second issue is, I just want to make the Senate aware, we are having SharePoint issues. When we were migrated from the old SharePoint to the new SharePoint, all of our workflows for curriculum proposals broke. So you can submit curriculum proposals, that will work. We are just going to have to get it fixed so that they can progress all the way to the committee. And second, we're still using the old SharePoint forms of the informal and formal proposals. Last fall, we adopted new guidelines, which introduced new CAT forms, but the guidelines still say what you should use for the old form. We are meeting with a variety of people next week in hopes of having those forms updated and having the workflows fixed. So we are hopeful that SharePoint will be working by November 1st, but until then you can submit. You just have to submit using the old ones, and then we'll figure it out from there.
So for this round, you want to get detailed source?
Well, that's what we have right now. I mean, maybe we'll get it fixed before then. We'll see.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So people submit on the old forms, they're doing it tomorrow, old form, but if you get it fixed, the stuff that's been on the old forms will be okay. They want.
I don't know. So currently the workflows don't work. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like if you submit, it just sits there. So we're going to find out.
So should we say when they submit, they should contact the records office and let them know?
Yeah, although the records office doesn't know what the
fixes either.
No, that they've actually submitted it.
Oh, yes. Well, no, records can see it submitted. You
Okay.
can see it goes there. It just sits there. What I would recommend is save everything in case we come back and say resubmit. And hopefully we'll fix it by November 1st. So I just want to make you all aware of that. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, moving on. The next thing on the agenda is a report from the handbook committee. So the chair recognizes Dr. Beth Crawford as chair of the handbook committee.
Whatever name. I'll
Sorry.
let you know. No, thank you. All right, handbook committee. First, I want to thank the members of the handbook committee. This has been a pretty major effort over a long, long time. Some of us getting into years on it. We have three things that we're bringing forward today to the Senate. As we reviewed all of the chapters that have already been passed by the Senate, we have discovered that there are a small number of continuity issues related to the previous chapters. There are things that were inadvertently left out in the changes amongst system and handbook committee and legal counsel and everything, and some revisions to system policy that require continuity changes to the chapters as well. So the revisions that were noted in the copy of Chapter 3 that was posted to the agenda are all continuity amendments to that chapter. The handbook committee moves that these continuity amendments for Chapter 3 be approved by the faculty senate.
Thank you. So the motion is to vote or approve the continuity amendments to Chapter 3. Because it comes from committee, we don't need a second. Is there any discussion pertaining to continuity issues of Chapter 3?
It's not just continuity issues. There were some EDO-related appeals process that are added.
That was a continuity issue as well.
And I would like to offer an amendment to Chapter 3.
So because this comes from committee as a motion about continuity issues, you can't offer an amendment on this specific motion. It would have to come in new business. Per Robert's rules. We can only discuss what the motion is.
So we'd have to vote this down in order to look at anything else?
No, what we'd have to do is complete that handbook committee business, and then in new business, something would have to be brought up, because what he's proposing does not have to do with continuity issues, which is what the motion was.
If the Chapter 3 is coming back to the Senate,
We're not bringing the whole chapter back. The whole chapter's already been through and approved. We're just bringing the continuity issues that were found in doing the continuity check. There were a few items that were inadvertently left out and a few items that have changed due to system policy. So that's all that the committee is bringing today.
EDO appeals process.
Right, that was a piece that was accidentally left out. That was a piece that was inadvertently left out.
Well, okay, so there are some important changes that are being made to Chapter 3. Now that it is back in the floor,
Excuse me,
I
are
think it is
you?
open for amendments. I would like parliamentarians to.
Excuse me, are you saying that the changes have to do with the continuity changes?
I think that's what I'm hearing, that he's saying that the continuity changes are more substantive than it sounds like. That's what I would, correct me if I'm.
The continuity changes are those ones in the document that you have that are marked with track changes. We don't
Right.
typically do that because this is just, we're only bringing back the pieces that are marked with track changes in the document that is on the agenda.
Go back and read the changes that are being made to Chapter 3. These are not minor items. There are some major items that are being changed in Chapter 3. And since it is now open in the Senate floor, I think, I leave it up to the parliamentarian to rule on this, that my amendment that I'm offering can also be called continuity. I don't know what terminologies that are being used. You can use any terminology you want, but these are substantive changes that are being proposed.
So are you saying that you don't want to accept the continuity, what they're saying? So you're saying that what you're adding to Chapter 3 is just stuff that's always there but somehow got left out?
Well, or there are policy changes at the system level. There's one piece that's kind of almost a paragraph, and that was in all of the, let me give a little background. In all of the changes, some of the biggest changes in Chapter 3, where there are places where we had things repeated 3 and 4 and 5 different times, and one of the things that we tried to do is make it much more streamlined, where there's a whole section just on tenured faculty. There's a whole section just on pre-tenure faculty that are in the probationary stage. And inadvertently, when we were doing all of that cutting and pasting, the piece about the ability to appeal the EDO rating for an already tenured faculty member accidentally got left out. It got included in the part for pre-tenure, for probationary tenure, but the piece about being able to appeal an EDO for an already tenured faculty member was inadvertently left out. So that's the biggest revision that we're bringing forward. There are a number of other little ones where a policy website linked to a dead website that didn't work, a policy changed at the system level, and then a lot of them are where we changed the chapters. If you'll remember, over a year ago, those of you that were on last year, we actually changed the order of the chapters and what was where. So there are some little issues that have been found throughout where we said something was in chapter 8, but it's not in chapter 8 anymore. Now it's in chapter, I don't know, 6 something. So that's what those are. So that's the pieces of chapter 3 that we're bringing forward today.
So are you adding things in chapter 3 that weren't in there prior?
The wording is probably slightly different than was in there
EDO
prior.
This process is completely new.
Is that a policy? Is that what you're indicating in terms of policy change?
Can you tell me what page that's on where you're saying the EDO appeals process?
I don't have it in front of me, but they don't.
It's up here.
See,
Page 17.
It is probably not the exact wording that it was in the previous one, the old one that we're trying to work on, because this wording was written to mirror the same appeals process for the probationary tenure track faculty, so that the two are very, very similar in wording and structure.
I'm not seeing any changes on that.
Yeah, it's not showing up as highlighted.
Do you have it set
so
for markup,
Carolyn's supposed
all
to know
markup?
that that's changed.
This is the older version. I'm sorry, it's not my computer. Oh, wait, here, this is what I need to change. There we go. That changed the height.
Yes, that's it.
So down here,
It's in the already tenured faculty section.
Yes.
all right,
Actually,
so 17 was not the correct page.
no, so what's further down? It's F section 1, which are the big changes.
This here,
Oh, there we go.
There and above
Okay.
it. Up one more.
10.
it starts on page 13.
Keep going. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Oh, there's even further up. That's the inside. What there are is, there's 3 potential different decisions at the EDO level. So the same appeals process is in for each of the 3. And the only word changes is what the rating was.
All right, so I guess my question is, you're proposing the document as it is, and you're
The committee
asking,
is proposing these revisions to the document.
right, so you're integrating not only what I would consider restructuring based on things being in a previous chapter that.
No,
weren't supposed to be
that's
there.
already happened. All of the
Okay.
restructuring in the
Okay.
previous chapters happened over the course of the last academic year.
Okay, so now you're proposing a new chapter that has new information in it that wasn't previously there.
No,
So then, to me, what he is saying is valid. The fact that he's challenging the fact that there's a change, you're proposing a change to that chapter versus it just being, it was simply a restructuring or moving or deleting old web links or something. I could see what you're saying, but if you're integrating new content, then to me, I would have to support what his amendment.
Well, I mean, that's a good parliamentarian, but what I will say is that this was brought forward by the handbook committee. They voted and approved this, and they presented to the Senate for discussion. So, Dilip, what are you proposing?
I have.
Go ahead, I'll open it. I have it. Is it the same thing you sent?
Yes.
Okay, I have that. Somewhere. Oh, is this? Unfortunately, I don't think I can show you side by side.
it's 2-sided. We're not too that sick inside yet. On behalf of the handbook committee, is this open for discussion or not?
But this is open for discussion.
Or is it an amendment yet that's been moved in?
It's not an amendment yet, no. It needs a motion and a second in order to propose an amendment.
So you have to state your motion, like what is your?
I propose that the Chapter 3, Article 7.b, page 17 and 18, the RTP committee role for probationary year 1, 2, 4, and 5 to be the same as in probationary year 3 and 6.
So just to show you,
So what your motion is, just to make sure it's clear, you want to make sure the RTP committee role is the same across all 6 years of the process.
That is correct.
Second.
we have a second.
Okay, so now we can
Okay,
discuss.
so now this is a discussion on Leap's amendment, and I believe you have it down underneath here, real tiny, right? I have it in tiny writing, but the actual amendment is underneath this, right? Underneath the table.
Mike.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to recognize Mike Bell.
We went around and around on this issue, both in the committee last year and in the Senate last year. And the general consensus was there is no point in the faculty trying to review a first-year faculty member, haven't even gotten their EDO yet. And we decided that basically systematic approach, staggered years on a regular basis made sense, and it also made sense if there was a negative vote from the department head, then it would go before the full committee. We had this debate last year. I don't know why we necessarily have to revisit this.
Joni?
I have two questions.
Yes.
First is procedural. I assume we have to vote on this amendment before we move forward on the handbook committee's motion.
That's correct.
Okay. My second question is more substantive. And that is, my understanding of the handbook, especially as it pertains to Chapter 3 with regard to faculty senate, is that faculty senate or the faculty handbook guidelines provide a broad structure. And then our departmental bylaws provide more structure in our departments. And what concerns me about this amendment is that we're putting a whole lot more structure in at the university level. And it's my understanding that a lot of the amendments that we made to the handbook last year were to put responsibility on department heads so that when, especially with regard to probationary faculty needed guidance, that needs to be taken care of. But it's the department head's job. I mean, that's why they get paid the big bucks, is they have an obligation to tell faculty, hey, you need, your teaching needs to be better, you need to be doing more scholarship, here's where you need to direct your service. And that if things need to be tweaked, it needs to be tweaked at the departmental bylaws level. So to me, adding more stuff at the university level makes me nervous. So
Isn't the RTP committee?
What I'm
the
saying.
department committee?
yeah, but we're putting rules on the RTP committee
Of
at
every
the
department.
of every
For
department.
each department,
For
yes.
every department.
Yeah.
And I think that should be determined department by department, not at the university level. Because I think when the university does it, different departments may have different ideas. Frankly, I'm not sure I want the accounting department faculty telling me what to do.
It's the superintendent, faculty, and the department that make a recommendation as to whether or not you should be promoted.
Point of order. Let me recognize you before you speak, so we don't get out of order. Next was Claire.
Okay, well, first I'd like to make a comment on the statement that, well, you know, the Senate looked at this last year, the committee looked at it last year, why should we look at it again? When I was the chair of the handbook committee, was it 3 or 4 years ago? We looked at this. This was, you know, having the regular evaluation by the ranking and tenure committee every year was proposed. It was voted down. So why did y'all look at it again last year when the handbook committee had already looked at this? So I don't think you should just say, well, we've already talked about it, we don't need to talk about it again. Otherwise, why keep bringing the same stuff forward over and over? And I think that the input from the faculty in the ranking and tenure committee is very valuable to young faculty every year. I think that failing to provide that kind of input, you know, I've been in departments where it was provided every year in writing and formally. I've been in departments where you just sort of got something from a mentor saying, oh yeah, things are great. I really think it's very important that we provide structured input from the ranking and tenure committee for young faculty every year. And you may say that department heads get the big bucks, and so they're supposed to know what's going on. Sometimes they're so busy with other things that they don't have as much interaction with the young faculty as some of the others in the ranking and tenure committee do. And I think you're throwing away a very valuable source of information by not making use of that.
Diane, did you want to speak?
I agree with what Claire just said.
If I can just clarify a bit on what Joni brought up, that specifically was one of the things that the handbook committee was doing and working along with was trying to push some of that decision-making back down, because some departments may feel that way, other departments may not. So it does say in there that the bylaws for any given department can be more strict, just not less strict, which has been the standard ruling. And so if there's a department that really wants to, the RTP committee really wants to look at that they can add that into their bylaws. But if it's added here into the handbook, then it becomes a requirement for every single department.
Doesn't the language only in instances go reverse of what you're saying? Is that more strict? Isn't that limiting what the department can do?
No, it didn't say only in instances. What it did say is always the RTP.
It says only in instances. I would love some language that says only in instances, blah, 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 unless otherwise.
It says only in instances where the department head recommends. That's what it says in 1, 2, or I'm sorry, recommends against reappointment. 1, 2, 4, and 5.
That's restricting a department bigger. But I'm saying we want to do something.
And frankly, this actually could be another continuity issue. There was a caveat that said a departmental bylaws could override, and I'm wondering if that is.
I would love to have that language where departmental bylaws can override.
We're not override, but can have more stringent, that a departmental bylaws can be more stringent.
I thought someone hasn't spoken yet.
Okay. First off, we only get the medium money at the department. Secondly, I really think in almost every case we need to safeguard the faculty. And there could be instances where the department head supports somebody, because we tend to be busy, may miss something that, given ongoing support and oversight from the RTP committee, just allows the department head and the faculty just to make sure the person's protected. There may be disagreements. The RTP committee might see something that the department head doesn't that needs to be addressed. And I just think ongoing, the more oversight you can give gives the best chance for the best outcome, no matter what that is. So I really just think on principle we need to support.
So I am on tenure track and from a department where we do get yearly feedback from RTP, just goes above and beyond the requirements. And I will say that that's been incredibly beneficial. It's something that I think a other tenure track colleagues in other departments would benefit from, simply because it is a separate vote. So a department head doesn't sit on the RTP committee. The RTP committee will vote on my tenure separate from the department head. And so having feedback from both of those wherever feasible and possible, I think is beneficial. So the language here could change to allow circumstances where there aren't senior faculty to provide that feedback. I think like OT, for example, has to bring in people from other departments in order to do RTP, so it's maybe not feasible in that department. But it would be great to have language here that suggests that it would at least be a best practice when possible.
Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet?
Okay, and I would just like to say, I think our thinking and our language is a little bit backward here. People said, why should we add this in, saying we have to get feedback from the rank and tenure committee every year? But that is the way it has been in the handbook in the past. So we're not actually talking about adding this in. The handbook committee is essentially talking about taking out something that was there before. And I think what this gentleman wants us to put it back, essentially, to leave it alone.
Just to clarify that particular point of order, for those who were not on Senate last year, the handbook committee is not bringing anything to take out today. Everything the handbook committee is bringing today is stuff to put in. The stuff that's being talked about being taken out are things that did go through the faculty senate last year. Just for those who weren't here last year to know that that process did go through.
But not through the faculty, just through the faculty senate. Is that correct?
The faculty senate.
The whole handbook has
The whole
not.
handbook has not gone
Okay,
to
so
the
the
next
faculty have not voted on this. So none of this is.
They said there was a agenda.
My issue with this is just that
Can you speak up?
if you're not hearing from the RPT committee except once, right, during your third year, and then you're up for tenure, and that's the next time you really hear from them, I think you're kind of setting yourself up for perhaps some surprises, right? So I think it's important to hear from them along the way. The last you heard from them was 3 years ago, right? And then you have for tenure, maybe your department chair is happy with everything, but then you get this big surprise at the end. I think that's possible here.
Here's, I guess maybe I misstated something in what I said. It seems to me that if you're, I'm a tenured full professor in my department, and accounting faculty are hard to get. I mean, there are more jobs out there than there are qualified faculty. So we have some really good newer faculty in the department, and we want to keep them. So if we see anything with any of our faculty where they're not doing something, each of us who is higher in rank or has tenure, we look out for them. And if Amanda were in my department, I'd be saying, hey, let's publish together, or here's something you can do to make yourself stronger, so that when you come up for tenure, you're ready. Just because it might not say RTP feedback in the bylaws doesn't mean you're not getting that feedback, good or bad. I'm not saying we shouldn't want that kind of feedback, but I think the department head should somehow be responsible, because I know there have been years where I never had an EDO meeting with the department head. The department head would just email me my EDO and say sign off on it, and that was it. And I think part of the impetus for making the department head responsible is so the department head had a legal obligation to get feedback from the RTP committee and document that he or she was discussing things with an untenured or unpromoted faculty member. So that if, for example, you're in psychology, right? So Brian O'Leary would sit down with you and say, Amanda, here are things you're doing well. Here are things you're not doing well. Based on what I'm hearing from your RTP committee, in your EDO meeting, document that, have you sign it, so that if you do, go up for tenure and don't get it, and you decide to sue, he's got documentation that he told you that. And then he gave you some of that feedback that he'd gotten from the senior people. Now maybe I'm crazy, Yusuf. Wouldn't that be part of the reason? I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to call him.
That's all right. I'll
but it seems like that's part of the reason the system has wanted us to move to having department heads because part of it's legal. Because when people sue for not getting it, they want to have some process there so that, you know, there's documentation that the department head has an obligation to talk to the RTP committee and tell people who don't have tenure, here's why you may not get it if you don't get on ball.
Don't recognize you sit back there. Like,
Now that I put him on the spot, sorry. I know you weren't ready for that, I just kind of. Yeah, because you weren't ready. So I said, part of the reason we want to put the emphasis on department heads instead of just the RTP committee for feedback on promotion and tenure is that during the EDO process, they're forced to document with, you know, if Benny's untenured. During the EDO, the department head is forced to document if his senior faculty has said it doesn't look good for tenure, and the department head has to document that in the EDO process.
It's really helpful in the legal proceeding. I think more specifically to the language that's been raised by Lee's amendment, I can tell a little history on how this came about. So in chapter 2, they worked on the committee in consultation with administration, specifically Dr. Rainsworth. There was a decision that, or discussion about the fact that it seemed like there's unnecessarily you're having that faculty member being reviewed by a teaching committee when there is no issue with being reappointed. And that was just extra work that was necessary, that we would have an RTP committee there in case there was a recommendation that's reappointment, so that we would have a review as an oversight to make sure the department head is looking at it correctly, and that removing that obligation to do review regardless of whether the appointment was recommended just to streamline the burden on the committee so that they're not sworn to all of these recommendation reviews. There's also no has to be for or against. It's mainly to remove some of that burden back. So that was the genesis of it. That was it in a nutshell. So I'm not really sure if there's this discussion on why that change was made, but that was it.
So I listen to everybody's talk and being somebody who's on tenure track, right? And everybody's saying that the feedback that you get from the P&T committee is going to be invaluable as a new faculty member going through. So my question is, and I guess what I want to bring to thought is, what if a new faculty member is recommended for continuation by the department head, but it goes to the P&T committee in year 2, and the P&T committee says no, right? So your feedback from the P&T committee is, we should terminate you after year 2. And is that really considering the people who are reviewing that dossier or that package? Are they really aware of what's going on by that faculty member to reach the goals that they are being assigned by maybe the department head or maybe by previous input by the P&T committee? So yeah, if we're going to say every year we're going to put every faculty up for get reviewed by the P&T committee, we run the risk. I'm saying we can get good feedback. I'm all for that. I think having more people look at something and give their viewpoint is good. But what happens if the outcome of that review is negative? That's kind of a risk that you run, that you could be dismissing faculty after 1 year or 2 years.
Who runs the list? Candidate or who's running the list?
The department, the university, right? If I'm after year 1, my department head says, hey, I want to keep him for another year. He struggled, maybe was struggling in teaching because he doesn't have a lot of teaching background. But maybe the P&T committee reviews that and says, no, we don't want to keep him. Get rid of him. Don't give him a chance, right? So you could be potentially turning away a good faculty member after a year, right? Are you saying?
You saying it wouldn't happen?
No.
I'm just saying that's a possible outcome.
I think the process is the committee is first, and then it goes to the department head. So it's not the other way around. But it's fine, in my opinion, if there are different opinions. The RPT says no, and the department head says yes. At least we know that there are different opinions on this candidate. And if you have more information, the department head has more information. But wait a minute, my colleagues at RPT are thinking otherwise. The department head will look more carefully at the case. And if it's really serious about growing the department, should look at both sides, what the faculty thinks and what the qualifications of this candidate are. So it's just an additional plus, even if there are different opinions. Because you may have cases that the faculty thinks otherwise of the department head. And I think the reason that Dalip is bringing this is to avoid this situation, or at least to make aware that faculty is aware that the department head is thinking otherwise as the other, so that's more transparency in my opinion. So,
Did you still want to? He had his hand up. Did you still want to say something? Yes.
Yeah, but I can wait for my turn.
But it's your turn. It's going
Okay.
around to everybody, so it is your turn.
All right, okay, thank you. Well, of course, we were talking about from the point of view of the faculty member applying for the appointment. We should also look at it from the tenure faculty. And we want to be part of the academic administration of the department. We want to be part of that. We want to be able to review our tenure track faculty members' performance in all aspects and give them positive or negative feedback. Sometimes it is more like an encouraging, these are the things that you have to focus on, or less focus on this. And I think this is part of participative administration of academic affairs in our own department. And why that should be, it's not a big burden on faculty. I've served in P&T committee for years and years and years. It's not a big burden, and it is that we should be happy to participate in the process and provide guidance to young faculty members. I think that is part of our basic duty. And I think that diluting that and taking that away from us is I don't want to use very strong language, but I have some sort of limitation. I think that's an injustice to the faculty members, the tenured faculty members, to take that opportunity away from them to be part of the grooming of our tenured track faculty members.
I just want a point of clarification. We're not taking it away today. It was already voted on by the Senate. So this is a proposal to change what was already passed by the Senate. I'd like to recognize the provost.
Just a point of information. I read the letters. If you think you're giving me information that is helpful, in most cases, this is zero. What I see uniformly across this campus are letters of congratulations, you've been reappointed from the committees. They're not getting the information to the individuals, and I see a letter that is written to the department head that says something completely different. Just a point of information. So you can do what you want to do, but the fact of the matter is, board of trustees expect department head training to be very rigorous now. They expect a 3rd year and a 6th year, and so that's just a point of information. What I see now is not typically. I can name departments that it is informative from. I know where I'm going to get that, but in most cases, I'm not getting that kind of information from your RTTs that come to me that I have to evaluate. And I look at all of them. But that's just a point of information.
I'd like to call the question.
Oh, we have to vote on that, right?
Unless someone objects.
Does anybody object to call the question? Yeah, there's an objection. So we need to vote. So for those of you who are new senators, a call question is essentially asking for end of discussion and a vote on this amendment, correct? So all we're voting right now is if we will end discussion. Okay. So so the vote is, or the motion is to put an end to discussion. So a vote of yes means that we would end discussion, and a vote of no means we would continue discussion. So if you would please, those who would like to support the end to the discussion, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion passes 14-10.
That requires a two-thirds.
Two-thirds vote? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for letting me know that. So then it doesn't pass, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the call question fails. So we continue discussion. Next was Mike Bell.
I would just like to repeat, I've been doing writing tenure committee for a long time. I've chaired it. We put a lot of effort into writing our letters. We're doing 10 people this year. It is time consuming and it is burdensome, particularly with regard to first year faculty who've only been here a few months. We don't even have an EDO for these people to evaluate them and say one way or the other that they're doing a good job. Is we just sit around the committee and look at one another. Like we have nothing to evaluate this person with. We have very little to say. So to say that it's valuable input, particularly in the first year, I think is just not true.
Yusuf?
I was gonna suggest a compromise. Going along to what Jenny suggested earlier.
Can you speak up?
I was gonna suggest a compromise along the lines of what Jenny suggested earlier, which is to reword it in a way where it says at a minimum, you must review it if there's a recommendation against reappointment. But it leaves it to the department to decide whether it wants to be reviewed beyond that. So it's not mandated they have to do it every year in the department. The department can decide for itself. We can tweak that when we use.
That would need to come from a senator, if a senator would like to propose that as an amendment to the Leach motion. Joni's proposed it. Is there a second? Okay. Open for discussion on amending the Leach motion.
Can you clarify what we're amending the motion to say?
Joni?
Basically that, that if you help me if I'm wrong, that if you only would have the RTP input if there's a negative, right?
That's how it is now.
That's the current language.
What the compromise would be, and I think what I've used two positions on this would be that basically we would have the department whether or not they want to review the EOD, BDO, the faculty members every year, but it gives the discretion to the department to actually just do it in the third year, the information review.
Okay.
Just as a, well, I'm not really sure where this fits, so Mr. Parliamentarian, you can tell me. And it would kind of be outside that amendment to the back to the thing, because it sounds like we're kind of going in circles right here. If I can just say as part of the discussion, I believe, and I'm trying to look at faces, I believe the handbook committee would, if this particular, not the second amendment, but the first one, or voted down, I believe the handbook committee would willingly accept a friendly amendment to add the caveat under the table saying that departmental bylaws can be set to do more often if they choose. Committee, am I okay? Anybody in committee argue with that?
Well, I think we
we
already
have to
have
address-
a second.
I know that. You can't, that's just a
We
piece
have
of
to address
discussion. It wasn't part of the
her
amendment.
amendment
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, we
We
have
have
to
to
address the amendment first.
her first before we
Yeah,
address
no, we
that,
can't.
because you're bringing out something on the previous amendment, we have to address
Okay, I'm
Joni's
sorry.
first.
Yeah, I was worried about that. It's
Yeah.
confusing.
So can you specifically state what you're proposing?
Yeah. That we go with what we have here. Except that departments can elect to do more frequent RTP reviews, RTP inputs, when the departments deem it appropriate.
Through their bylaws? Is
Through
that
their
what you got it?
departmental bylaws.
I'm not sure how that would fit in there, but I just typed that underneath.
So for example, we're doing the College of Business bylaw revisions right now. So whoever, if we can that be added to the College of Business bylaw.
So
Yes.
in those departments, sorry. Didn't know if I needed to be recognized or not. A department that say the senior faculty feel it burdensome could stick to at a minimum this.
Right.
But others that want, the senior faculty want to have one, but could take this exact chart, this language that Philippe has proposed and put it in their bylaws.
So maybe the language should be at a minimum and drop the word only.
At a minimum.
Right? So you say at a minimum.
So putting the words is required before only would make that really clear. So it would read, provide input on reappointment of faculty is required only in instances where, along with an asterisk at the end, directing to that plan.
So that would be if Joni would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Sure. You'd have to fix the English, providing input.
Right.
So you can't say provide. Sure. Anyway.
So can you tell me, Amanda, what it is that it's in
So
here?
it would read for years 1, 2, 4, and 5, providing input on reappointment of faculty is required only in instances where the department head recommends against reappointment, with an asterisk to that caveat that you were intending to put at the bottom of the table.
And the other ones would change accordingly, just not copying them all.
Joni, you're okay with that language? Okay, because she started the amendment.
Right, that's why I asked her to accept it as a friendly amendment.
That amendment has been seconded.
Yes, it was seconded.
Yeah.
No, that's so,
I think mine will.
so this amendment to amendment.
Delete, hold on. Nick, we've had a question back here for a while, so thank you. Thank you.
First, I want to personally apologize to the handbook committee. This year, previous years, I don't know if I was asleep or drunk, but we have obviously visited this and changed it. I am against it, so I'm wondering what I was doing. My apologies. This is too important to try to push through too quickly and not get consensus. First of all, the role of the department head has been discussed. Nothing in Delete's amendment changes anything about the requirement of the department head to give an annual review. That's a given. I think we do a disservice to our faculty, especially junior faculty, by not formalizing the process by which we give an annual performance evaluation, separate from the department head. It formalizes the fact that there's at least a dialogue every year, that there's some communication, that some mentoring, some guidance, rationale is provided. And our college does that. We do it within our department. And our feedback from faculty that go up is how helpful it is. Every single year, sometimes minor modifications, sometimes major. You can intervene early. That first year review, you've got a semester's worth of teaching, evaluations, statement of philosophy, statement of research philosophy. You can start early, like early childhood education. Start as early as you can. We want these people to be successful. So I support this amendment.
So
I was getting ready to actually say, your discussion has to be restricted to the second.
Yeah,
amendment.
this
We
has-
have to, since Joni brought that, well, that's.
Well,
that's
she's
procedure, that's-
she's opposing the second amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
That's what I'm
yes,
asking.
there
for
more
more
For all
discussion?
those reasons, I oppose the second amendment.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment that Joni has proposed with the language? I went ahead and highlighted it in blue so you know what it is. It's probably too tiny for you to see. But the same stuff that was in for year 1 would be the same as 2, 4, and 5. I'm gonna ask this, but I see you, but I'm making sure there isn't someone. You're actually allowed to speak twice on any motion. So Betty, you've already spoken once, so I'll let Zeke go because I don't think you've spoken on this specifically. So go ahead.
Okay, the second amendment completely eviscerates my amendment. And therefore, I respectfully ask the senators to vote down the second amendment.
Benny, are you still? He's asking people to vote against the amendment. Yes. Do you still have your hand up?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I think we need to we understand what one language versus the other language. That is important here. And based on our beliefs, we have to vote, right? And I will talk about the second amendment, but just to go back, the language that is proposed there is simply, I personally think that this language as it was is efficient, right? So I personally like that. However, the other side is by putting this additional only there, we are limiting the role of the promotion continuous review committee. So it's a matter of being more efficient. How do we think we should be more efficient? Or we agree with the idea of limiting our role? That's what we need to vote on that. As far as Johnny's amendment, I personally, again, it's a personal choice. I personally think that we should have, I know we should give the power to the departments, but we should have a structured and kind of similar approach among departments of the university in terms of the paperwork. When they go up in the central administration, we want the same amount of feedback, the same routes, the same channels, the process we've done for the same channels. We didn't want, here is this, but keep in mind it's only the department here. So in my opinion, that's my personal choice. That's why I'm against.
Can we vote on the amendment for these changes? And then if it passes, I'm not sure how we handle the other amendment, but if it doesn't pass, then we move back to Philippe's amendment. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think you have to call the question in terms of
Yeah.
ending debate.
for this one,
For
yes.
Jones amendment.
Yeah. Is there any more discussion?
Which requires two.
All the question.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and call the question. So this is basically, can we vote on Joni's
Yes.
proposal? We're not saying are we voting, we're just can we vote on it. So all hands up if you is ready to vote on the second amendment, whatever.
So we're voting on whether we can vote.
Yes, we're voting to end debate on the second amendment.
Yes.
That won't be popular, can
All right, that passes. Again, sorry, we had one person leave, so we're at 31 right now, and we had 31 votes, so it's 31-0.
It doesn't matter, we get to.
Everyone's ready to vote. Okay, so now that we voted to call the question, this is a vote on this new language that Joni proposed. Is everyone clear on what it is before we vote? It's in the blue. Let me reread it. Basically, for years 1, 2, 4, and 5, it would change the box to read, providing input on reappointment of faculty is required only in instances where the department head recommends against reappointment with an asterisk. And then the asterisk at the bottom reads, departments can elect to review more frequently through RTP, right language, when deemed appropriate through their departmental bylaws.
Can I clarify one thing? Voting yes on amendment 2 is directly opposed to delete's first amendment.
That's a question for the parliamentarian. So Joni proposed this new amendment.
Not just clarifying.
Yeah, no, I know, and I'm asking the parliamentarian. Joni proposed this. We already had one on the floor. She proposed this one, which we have to vote on first. If this passes, how does it affect the first one?
I think it stays, you still have to address.
We still have to address it? Okay.
But it's changed.
But it's, yeah,
Changing.
it would change the language to what you.
It changes.
It does change.
So if this gets approved, it changes the language, but deletes is still on the floor. So
Because we haven't,
Yeah,
we haven't, well, we didn't end discussion on his amendment yet.
Right.
On the second one.
Right.
So,
May I say something though? Just because we're not mandating RTP input.
you're actually out of order.
Yeah, we can't have.
Well,
any
the
more
question's been
discussion.
called, we have to vote.
Yes. Yeah, so we're voting on Joni's proposal. Should it pass, we still have discussion on delete's amendment, so, okay? All right, all in favor, raise your hands for Joni's proposal. All opposed? parliamentarian? 15-15. Dr. Vote, right?
Yes, you make the decision.
I vote for Joni's amendment, so it's 16-15. Okay, so Joni's amendment passed. Currently, this is what the language stands as. Now we can go back to Dilip's amendment. We still have discussion on that because we never closed that. So I'm sure you still propose what you would want, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're in discussion right now.
Point of order with the parliamentarian. We go back to his as amended by the group,
Yeah.
not back to his original language.
It's
We don't go back to his original language.
It's
We go back
changed
to
now.
his as amended.
The faculty voted, the Senate voted for that language, so it's now based on
No,
that language.
that's fine. I just want to make sure that was clear.
So what does it
We
mean?
don't go back to the original.
So that means
She's,
my amendment is gone.
It's like
Yours is
supersedes it, yeah.
Yes.
Is it?
But we could
We could
continue discussing the amended language at the bottom, in the middle of the page, that you're replacing the current language.
I don't think that's right. His amendment still stands, so he had proposed some different language, so just different
Yeah.
from what this is.
Right, I think it's still, we can still discuss it, right?
Yeah.
We still discuss the fact that what he's saying is that for each of those years, all years,
You
you
want-
have the P&T requirement.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that's still on, that's the debate, right?
Right.
Even though you changed
The debate,
this.
but if the vote comes without any further changes, it is on this new language. Because it's already been amended.
Well,
Yeah.
now his amendment is still, it's still different than what has been changed, right? So even though this has been changed, the requirement is still different because he's requiring P&T no matter what. This is saying defaulting back to the departments to make the decision of whether P&T is reviewing a.
Right, the group just voted to amend his amendment.
No.
No, they didn't? No.
Yes.
No,
What did
we
we just
amended
do?
it, it was different.
Okay.
We didn't touch his stuff, did we? I think we need to clear this up first with the parliamentarians. Where are we, so we know for sure?
You changed it.
It's changed,
It's changed.
but Dilip's amendment is still on the floor, no?
The changed amendment.
It supersedes it. That's, right?
May I speak?
Yes,
Yeah.
I recognize Jim Houston as a longstanding parliamentarian in the faculty senate and appreciate that he came today for this.
Yeah, I really didn't want to get into this. I'm probably really good at great papers. Yeah, Joni's amendment then takes precedence over. She amended his amendment, which was an attempt to change the motion from the handbook. Therefore, it becomes the amendment to be considered vis-a-vis the handbook.
But because we voted, has it already been considered now? We have to vote.
Well, now we have to vote whether this amendment then amends the original motion. We basically formally changed the language of the amendment. So now this is the amendment.
I got it. Okay, let's make sure everyone understands. So the vote that we just had replaced Dilip's amendment, but it didn't vote this into practice. Okay, so now,
We can still debate this language.
yes.
You could even amend this.
So in effect,
Hold on, we're still figuring it out. So at this point, we can discuss this language, we're still in discussion period, and at that point, we will vote on it.
Yeah.
But this is how the language stands right now.
Correct.
Okay.
So now the debate would be around this language, if you want to change that would require the new amendment. Which would go start the whole process.
Okay.
And we
All
start
right.
changing our state.
Hold on, Joni had wanted to talk before, sorry, Joni.
Okay. In defense of this language in this amendment, what I'm gonna say, because I've heard this point made a lot, and I feel like there's a misunderstanding. First of all, just because we're mandating department head feedback to faculty, and not necessarily mandating RTP. We're not excluding the faculty from giving feedback. What we're requiring is that department heads document that feedback. I don't deny what Diane said. that RTP feedback to junior faculty is very valuable. I can remember some of the feedback I got in my second year that still is very valuable to me. But it wasn't on paper. It was in one-on-one or two-on-one meetings with my senior faculty who gave me very valuable, unsolicited advice about ways that I could better position myself to get tenure. Those sorts of things are not documented. And the reason documentation is so important is because people who don't get promoted or don't get tenure litigate. And we have to be worried about those kind of things. And so somebody has to be responsible for documenting feedback. And so we're not trying to exclude RTP feedback. And just because it's not mandated doesn't mean senior faculty are being excluded. It's that the burden of documenting every time you guide junior faculty is not being placed on your shoulders. I mean, I can remember when I chaired the RTP committee having to draft a letter to somebody. We weren't going to continue. And that's a legal document, and that's not fun. That's being taken away so that you don't have to write a legal document and put it on the department head's plate. But it doesn't mean you don't get feedback. So that's all I want to say. Dwayne?
Yes, so to be sure, I want to make sure that where we are at. So with the second amendment having passed, so we have the asterisk and the statement below. So that was the amendment. So now we are back to my amendment.
If you would like to propose it again, you need to propose it again.
My amendment is still
No, they killed
Superseded
it,
by
so
that.
you would have to propose it
She
again.
amended your amendment.
So
Okay.
it was voted to amend, so you can
Then
propose it
I
again.
propose the same language. If you
Okay.
want, I can read it back to you.
No, I'll say this is a separate document, so we still have that.
Oh,
So,
so I
and
propose.
it's still below here, actually, if you want to see it, I can move down. So that, Dilip is re-proposing what you proposed before, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. So discussion on amending, going from what we changed it to back to what Dilip had proposed the first time. Diane.
I just want to clarify with Joni that given how valuable the RTP committee advice was, we want to guarantee all faculty get that. It might happen, yes, but if we don't formalize it here, then there's no guarantee that faculty will get that feedback. And it's only fair if you got such great advice for your career that all faculty at that level be offered the same advice. This guarantees they get it, it protects them.
I recognize.
If I can just acknowledge what Dr. Ainsworth said, this language does not guarantee that faculty will receive good feedback from the RTP committees. It only guarantees that the RTP committee has to meet that.
I just wanted to say, understand there's a value in some departments, first year feedback, but not all departments are the same. And this forces all departments to follow the same guidelines, follow the same procedures, regardless of whether it's appropriate or not. And that's just bad practice.
Gavin?
I'm interested in the language of what it means to provide input. We're assuming that this means the committee meets, that they deliberate, that they draft a document, which then goes to the probationary faculty member and the head, or they write 2 letters on the probationary. But provide input strikes me as being so loose. It could actually mean that the rank and tenure committee appoint a liaison or a mentor or something to work with a particular faculty member, or to just work verbally, or maybe do a peer review of a class. It's not prescribing the nature of the input. And it seems to me that even if we adopt this amendment where we have to provide input every year, it leaves tremendous amount of discretion to departments to determine the nature of that input. And I think I agree with Diane that every year the faculty ought to get some kind of input from the senior peers as an indicator of how they are faring in the eyes of the people who will eventually evaluate them for tenure. So I support the amendment.
Jack.
I'm
with Diane as well. To speak to the litigation aspect of it, I would be uncomfortable having to rely on informal information, talking to the RTP chair or whomever. If there's an actual vote, if there's ever any doubt, you have that documentation of action one way or the other, rather than relying on having to rely on hearsay. And I think that strengthens the university's position no matter what happens. And I cannot say enough how important it is to be able to get as much input from as many sources as possible to make these decisions. Gerald is right. Most of these things are easy decisions, and it's fine. But we need to protect ourselves in the case where things get sticky. And having as many votes and inputs as possible protects both the faculty member and the university.
John.
So one of the questions I have in regards to this language is if it's negative, right? If the department head votes negatively, right, it goes to the P&T committee. But that's like, there's an issue with chronological order, right, in terms of delay. You see what I'm saying? Like you're sending something back up to you're sending something to the P&T committee after the decision's been made. And how does that work in terms of time? Right? Why would you, if something is due to tomorrow, right, and you delay it, and you say, well, we're going to send the P&T, you're going to delay it for a week or 2 weeks. How does that deal with that faculty member who's had a negative outcome from the department head?
Actually, Dr. Ainsworth, I believe you probably are the best one suited to answer that question. I know because we talked about it in the handbook committee last year, that there was a calendar would be put in place where there was time for the RTP after the EDO rating, correct?
Diane, and then Gavin, and then I'm going to call a question on this discussion.
Mike raises a good point about the differences across departments. But I think that's where our tenure requirements and standards, where there's variation that's allowed. But the process for going up for reappointment and tenure and promotion should be the same across the university. Standards might vary for what it takes, but if the process is not the same for all faculty members, I don't understand how that system works. If someone in psychology goes through a different review process than someone in marketing. So I'm arguing this is a process issue.
I think the timing issue would be a non-factor if we adopt Philippe's amendment. Because what he's essentially suggesting is that we put in that third column, provide input on reappointment and evaluation of faculty members' progress towards tenure. You eliminate the whole problem of only in instances of some kind of negative faculty, departmental heads opinion. That provide input can happen at any time. It doesn't have, you don't have to wait for an EDO.
Okay, I'd like to call the question on the end of discussion. Anybody feel kind to do that?
Can you call?
Can I end the discussion?
If there's no objection.
If there's no.
Is there any objection to ending the discussion? Let's do that. All right, let's vote. We will be voting on whether or not Dilip's amendment will replace this new language that we had already accepted.
I didn't think that we got an amendment.
Yeah, it was seconded and everything.
I don't know that he can. That was some of the stuff we were talking about. It's like that whether he can.
He can't repropose the same amendment?
Yeah, I'm not sure that.
But what's what we've been discussing for the last.
If I may speak, that would amount to be reconsidering a motion. And that motion to reconsider has to come from somebody who prevailed on the previous vote. In other words, somebody could change his mind and say, well, I'm no longer for it. But somebody can't say, well, let's vote again because I lost.
We never voted on Denise's amendment.
No, we voted on her.
We voted to revise.
And then prevailed over Delibes, it modified Delibes' amendment. Therefore, Delibes' amendment is now effectively Joni's amendment, which is now on the floor.
But the instruction that we got was that we weren't doing that
Right.
from the parliamentarian at the time,
Right.
when it was called, when the question was asked. Is this
Yeah,
what-
I specifically asked the question, if we voted on hers, would we still be able to, and it was said yes. So I think that we have to go by what was discussed and what we said, and as much as it goes against Robert's rules, that's what the senators thought they were voting on. So we do need to give an opportunity to vote on this amendment to replace what's up there. It's a little sticky because of the amendment to amendment to amendment that we didn't follow correctly. Let me tell you, this is Robert's right here, okay? I read as much as I could this morning, and that's also why Jim is here to help us, but there are some issues to that effect. So I'm going to propose that we go ahead and vote, just because we thought we were all discussing the fact that Delibes' proposed amendment could replace what we voted, what we changed. Is there any objection to that? Okay. So right now, the vote is on to use Delibes' amendment rather than what you see on the screen right here. Okay, and his is down below. The language is still there. Okay, all in favor of Delibes' amendment to replace? Raise your hands. Okay, hands down. All those opposed to Delibes' amendment? So it's 13 to 17? It fails. So if Delibes' amendment fails, the language stands. Now we're back to the original, the continuity things that the handbook committee put forward. Is there any more discussion or objection to ending the discussion on the rest of chapter 3?
One more point of clarification?
Yes.
Can I clarify that the piece that was added by Joni is still
If
in,
you don't use
whatever we're
then
considering right
what
now that
they've
says
got,
departments can
what's
put in
there.
stricter guidelines if they wish in their bylaws.
It is.
Just want to make sure I knew that that was there.
You said,
Just want to make a quick comment. I think the section of proceeding was chart, I think each page to be consistent with the. Thank you very much.
oh, it's not on this page. This part about reappointment review process.
Yeah, I just want, I think an additional change of plan would be made at the division.
So handbook committee, would you accept that that language would be edited to fit the chart?
To match.
The chart that,
Joni's
the new chart that we just approved. Okay, so as there is no objection, we will go ahead and call the vote on chapter 3. So all those in favor of chapter 3?
Wait, chapter 3 as amended?
Yes, as amended. This was passed and the other amendment was not passed. So as it shows right here, and the other things that were proposed in chapter 3. Yeah. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. All those opposed? Motion passes 26-3. All right, we're moving on to the second motion from the handbook committee.
Okay, again, not to do a shameless plug for this committee, but I just gotta tell you, I've never worked with a committee that's worked harder than this one, honestly. And I worked on a lot of committees over a lot of years. I've been in this place a really long time. The handbook committee, after extensive work with the administration, legal counsel system, and the members of the faculty administration, administrative relations committee, otherwise known as FARC, bring chapter 5 to the Senate for approval.
So I'm not going to restate the entire motion, but it doesn't need a second because it comes from committee. Is there any discussion pertaining to chapter 5?
I would like to propose an amendment. I propose that we add the following sentence to chapter 5, article V.C. 817. If the chancellor decides not to accept the recommendation of FARC, he or she will give FARC a written statement of the grounds of such action framed with reasonable particularity. And the rationale for this is that this will provide a mechanism for the FARC and the chancellor to work together and have a spirit, in the spirit of mutual understanding and shared governance. And also, there are two other places where in the internal review process, in the case of proposed termination with cause, the chancellor is required to provide a written statement with reasonable particularity. So this language that I'm proposing will make FARC consistent with the other appeals process.
Okay, so I believe you guys all have that in front of you, right? Okay, is there a second to Dilip's? Yeah, let's hand up first. All right, so I'm not bringing this right at this point. We just spent a long time. Discussion on Dilip's amendment, right? Okay, so discussion on Dilip's amendment.
I
Mike.
ain't saying my name on this, but the handbook committee had several meetings with FARC and around about this particular issue. The lawyer chimed in saying that having a written proposal from the chancellor, written reply from the chancellor, was kind of iffy, which is one reason we decided to vote against that proposal. Also, the two other sections are board mandated, and as FARC has told us repeatedly, FARC is unique to UTC. It's not covered by board language or board policy, so it doesn't necessarily apply to what's good for what's mandated by board is good for what is an internal committee that applies only to UTC. So we went round and round and round with discussing and debating whether we wanted to do this or not, and finally came down based on legal recommendation that we not include this part of language. Is that fair enough?
That was my understanding at the time. However, since then, and this may be a question for Yusuf, I've gone back and looked at the Knoxville language on their appeals committee, and it has a paragraph that they appeal to their chief academic officer. But it says if the recommendation in their handbook of the appeals committee are not approved by the chief academic officer, the chief academic officer will then meet with the appeals committee to exchange views and determine whether the case can be resolved in a mutually acceptable manner between the chief academic officer and the committee, in which case the committee will reissue its recommendations to reflect that position. If the chief academic officer and the committee cannot resolve the case in a mutually agreeable manner, the chief academic officer will issue a final written decision, which will be provided to the committee, faculty member, and administrators involved. The final written decision will include the reasons for not accepting the findings or recommendations of the appeal committee.
Chief academic officer.
Yeah. I don't know Knoxville system. That's why I said this is a question for Yusuf. How is this language different from, why is this okay and the proposal? So can we ask
Yusuf? Process.
Yusuf, I will recognize you to answer this question.
I don't know the answer to this question. I'm not familiar with that.
It's in the faculty handbook, chapter 5, 4, 3.
I can restate my position for why I strongly recommended not to include this language actually requested by FARC in the meetings we had in the last few weeks. There are certain instances where, as the book has only five changes, I don't want them to put anything in writing or even verbally communicate things that feel like cases in litigation. And Most of the time, as I told the park committee members at our meetings on 3 different occasions, the chancellor wants to come and ask me, whether or not it's okay to respond to requests from BART. I think most of the time it's not going to be an issue. I don't want to mandate it in every instance, because there are going to be cases where I'm going to advise the chancellor that he should communicate for anybody else, because I know it's a regulatory law. This is not a requirement that's in the current handbook, and I don't see any reason to add it. I think it's going to increase the risk to the university from a legal standpoint going forward if you mandate this.
Thank you.
Diane?
But it may protect a faculty member.
How
And
is that?
therefore, I think putting the rationale in writing is only fair and part of the due process. I don't understand why we let the threat of a lawsuit drive this. We wouldn't put a lot of things in writing, then we wouldn't have a faculty handbook.
Claire?
And if this language is in the Knoxville handbook that says, in that case, it's the chief academic officer who will provide feedback and so forth, I don't see why we should not have similar language, even if ours is to go to the chancellor rather than to the chief academic officer, if it is acceptable for Knoxville. Why is it not acceptable for us?
Okay.
Yeah, we discussed this a lot in the handbook committee. And I voted not to have this, we didn't add the language. But the idea is that FAR has finished the process when they give the recommendation to the chancellor. There's nothing that FAR does once it gets the written decision. Okay? And I see the rationale that it strengthens the spirit of mutual agreement, and but at the same time, in that spirit, don't want to give the chancellor not jeopardize his position to protect him in terms of in case the case goes to court and it is advised by his counsel not to provide. So the spirit of collaboration should be both sides, in my opinion. So for that matter, I don't know if I can make a trend. We can say unless otherwise advised by the council, the chancellor can provide a written recommendation.
Are you proposing that as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
So that would be something to delete then.
No,
He doesn't accept it. So if you want to continue with that, we need a second and then.
No, I just wanted to say that that was the reason because of that. And the idea is that the faculty member will know it, and if the faculty member has shared so much with the FAR, the faculty member can share the decision of the chancellor with the FAR committee, if that's the case. It doesn't have to come necessarily from the chancellor, it can come directly from the faculty member.
Any other discussion, I think? All right, if there are no objections, we will vote on the amendment. Where we are. So we are voting whether or not to approve Delete's amendment to add this section in chapter 5. Okay, so all those in favor of Delete's amendment, raise your hand. All those opposed? So the motion fails 9-18. So we are back to chapter 5. As presented, nothing has been changed. So is there any discussion on chapter 5 as presented?
I would like to revisit Benny's point, possible, in along the lines of, except, I don't know exactly how you're wording that.
It was an amendment to Delete's motion,
Yeah,
so.
can we not discuss that?
I divert to the parliamentarian because you're talking about reconsidering things.
No,
So we already.
It's a new amendment.
It's a new, I'm
It can be,
proposing something
maybe
new.
proposes as a new amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it still deletes with his edit?
It's risky runs, I guess.
Okay.
Just some language that gets to this more conciliatory tone of, I don't know exactly what the language would be, but unless otherwise recommended by legal counsel, the chancellor should respond or talk or something with FARC.
So how do you?
Steve, may I offer something?
Yes.
Could I know Beth, you had your hand up first. I was gonna offer an amendment that maybe says unless advised otherwise by legal counsel, if FARC does not accept the chancellor does not accept a recommendation of FARC, the chancellor will agree to meet with FARC to discuss the decision. Not writing, but just discuss, unless, maybe I should, unless advised otherwise by legal counsel.
So are you proposing that?
As an amendment, yeah,
Okay.
just to check.
Let me rephrase, or
Yeah,
state,
if-
unless otherwise advised by legal counsel, if the chancellor does not accept a recommendation by FARC, that's as far as I got when I was typing.
He or she will meet with, FARC to discuss that decision. Just however grammatically well it needs to be phrased. But yeah, unless Yusuf or his equivalent advises the chancellor, he'll meet with FARC to discuss why he didn't accept the decision.
Oh yeah, is there a second on that?
Steve?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to say.
Okay, so second. Okay.
Just, I'd like to make one comment and then I'd actually like to recognize yourself because I'd like to hear his point of view. But just to make one comment to that, the conversation of trying to interject something conciliatory, which is us as a group trying to force the chancellor's hand to do something that he may or may not feel is appropriate, doesn't feel conciliatory to me.
Yusuf, please.
Yeah, please.
I would probably advise against adding language proposed, because if there isn't a response, then there's going to be evidence that people asking not to respond. So I'm not comfortable with that. It's just my position. If there's a desire for there to be a way for the chancellor to respond, then I think the easiest way to do it is say that the chancellor has discretion to respond. Without saying that legal counsel.
You know what, I'll withdraw the amendment. I'll just withdraw.
After it's been seconded, are we gonna do that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so amendment's been withdrawn. We're still back to chapter 5 discussion. All right, as we have no more discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of chapter 5 as presented and shared with everyone, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 25.
Sorry, I have one more. Sorry, this one is kind of, as we discussed previously, we're trying to bring the entire handbook as a whole to the full faculty meeting next Tuesday. There are a number of other continuity issues that have been found, lots of little things. What I would like to request is that the Senate give the authority to the handbook committee to approve this set of continuity changes as soon as Yusuf can get them to us. Do you have Yusuf, a timeline? I know you've been working on them. But we need to be able to get the whole thing into the faculty's hands as soon as possible.
But just that he's finished.
You're done with them.
I feel like I am. I'm going to do my last review.
So you could get them to me tomorrow and the handbook committee could review them.
Yes.
So
What I've done is all the chapters that were previously approved by the Tax Senate. If I've made a continuity edit, it's all in red line. So if you get a red line, it would be, that would all be new language. A lot of this formatting, citations have been cleaned up. As some examples of some substantive additions that were inadvertently left out, reference to the academic, such as the policy on research misconduct. So I added a paragraph regarding that policy, the IT acceptable use policy. There was a discussion, I believe, at that last faculty senate meeting, I wasn't here, regarding family care provision for tenure track faculty members who need to take time for childbirth rather than child foster care. I've taken the language from the UTC handbook, added a short provision with the citation to a new faculty care policy that will address those situations similar to what UTK addresses them. And that would be probably the most substantive change, because that's something that I was even aware of existed. I understand now that back in 2011, the faculty secretary approved a draft very similar to UTK was adopted. So I've taken that as a model for the new policy that I'll be working on, hopefully have present to faculty senate for review in the next month. But the handbook itself will just reference that policy.
Okay, so we have a clarification now of what this motion means. You don't need a second because it comes from committee, so now we're open to discussion.
So we are now, this motion is to give authority to handbook committee to make what are called continuity changes, is that?
To review the continuity changes and make sure that they are not, I mean, you said the word substantive, but not substantive changes in the content of the handbook as it's been voted on by this body.
Right. What I mean by continuity edit is that it would not substantively change anything that's already been approved by the faculty senate. It would be additions like reference to particular policy that's left out, like the IT acceptable use policy.
And so Yusuf would get it to the handbook committee tomorrow, as early as possible.
Yeah, I can send them to you tomorrow.
Folks, sorry, but we would turn it around as fast as possible so that the whole handbook would then be back in the hands of the full faculty in time for the full faculty meeting on Tuesday.
But I'm not sure I understand, because continuity changes, it looks like, when it was proposed as continuity changes, there were some really substantive changes made in Chapter 3. So what are we giving the authority for the handbook committee to act on?
What I mean by continuity editing is,
I can't hear.
What I mean by continuity editing is I go back and I look at the current handbook. And I'm going through there and saying, okay, wait a second, handbook committee didn't address this particular provision. That needs to be added back in.
Of system policy or university policy.
Yes, it's typically system policy. The only, I think, UTC specific policy that was inadvertently left out was the EEO objection process, which we added back in. As you know,
that is the reason why I'm a little concerned that the terminologies used seem to be quite open-ended. When the continuity changes, really.
Well, that was a process that existed in the current handbook. It's not a brand new process that's being created in this new draft. So really, I'm just trying to make sure that there aren't any important policies or other areas that faculty members need to be aware of that are not in the handbook. They might not know about otherwise.
I have another unrelated question.
Yes, sorry, I'm taking notes.
Unrelated to this particular issue.
Wait, if it's not related to this issue, we can't discuss it.
There's a whole for new business, right?
So giving the motion that's on the floor is that we're giving power to the handbook committee.
I'll
wait to review the continuity.
So the only thing I have is there a time limitation in terms of they will only have this power in case of this current edit?
Absolutely.
In terms of getting it to the faculty, ready for the full faculty.
Yes.
As long as that is the
This set of edits
understanding,
only.
right, that it's the limitation of to make that, but beyond that is no longer the case.
We're talking however many hours it is between now
Yeah,
and
that's,
Tuesday.
I'm just making sure that that's clear and understood, right? That's all.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what would be the problem with distributing to the whole Senate the proposed continuity changes, even if we empower the handbook committee to send it forward to the full faculty? I mean, why not have more eyes?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, and I had proposed to them that we'd go ahead and share it with the faculty anyways, because they need to have more than one day to look at it, so that's fine.
I mean, if we do see a problem. then
It's
we
the
can
matter of
contact-
taking the time to have a full Senate vote
Understood.
on something that, yeah. Yeah,
But
having
it
the
seems it
full
would be-
Senate see it and have the ability to comment to the handbook committee.
Sure.
See that as a benefit.
I'm actually, we're gonna post it on the full faculty, UTC Learn, so everybody can access it, so, yeah. All right, can we take a vote before Roger walks out so that we? Okay, sorry, Roger. All those in favor of that motion about continuity with the provision that it will be posted for all faculty to see with the red lines? All those opposed? All right, it passes 22-0. Thanks, Roger. Okay, moving forward, we do have some new business, and actually this week first because I have new business. So last weekend I attended the Tennessee University Faculty Senate retreat, which was held at UTK. Its acronym is TUFS, TUFS, and it's composed of the public university senates in the state of Tennessee, and they meet 4 times a year, 2 times in person and 2 times electronically. Majority of the meeting is campus reports, where I sent them just like a half-page bulleted list, and I probably talked for an hour, because everyone asks questions about each of your bullets. So we met it was Friday night, all day Saturday, and then until 11:30 on Sunday morning. And something that came up in almost everybody's campus report was the outsourcing that has been going on, the process that's been going on for the last year. So based on the information available, our Faculty Senate Exec Committee presented a resolution that I emailed to you guys. I apologize that it was past the agenda deadline, but I was trying to firm up the language for it and make it stronger. And as it comes from the Exec Committee, I don't need a second. So is there any discussion pertaining to the resolution that was presented to you about outsourcing? All right, not a single thing. All right, so as there's no discussion, would anybody be opposed to voting on supporting the outsourcing resolution? All right, so let's take a vote. This is a vote to support that this is our resolution as the Senate that we will share. Okay, so all in favor, hands please. All opposed? All right, motion passes. Abstain actually doesn't count, but abstain. Okay, all right. So that was the outsourcing resolution. Is there any new business? Yes, Philippe.
It is. I was well, not just me. The faculty handbook is being revised quite substantially, and I'm under the impression that there's going to be information sessions held. We talk about that before it comes up for board with full faculty. So now,
Excuse me, who told you there would be information sessions?
in the FARC faculty, FARC and handbook committee meetings, this was discussed.
If I can correct, no, it was that it would come up for discussion at the full faculty meeting, but then the vote will be held after the fact, not at the full faculty meeting. So we don't intend to bring it for a vote on Tuesday. We're bringing it for discussion and information on Tuesday, and then there will be a digital vote taken on the handbook after that time. All right, just to clarify, that's what was.
Is that what you were wondering?
Well, yeah, I mean, the handbook is getting rewritten in a very substantial way, with lots and lots of changes, which will substantially affect faculty. And I would like to have opportunity for faculty to get to know what's being proposed before they actually vote. And there should be sufficient amount of time for people to get to know.
So point of order is we've been voting on the faculty handbook for the last year. So these approved chapters have been available to the faculty for the entire last year for them to review. So I'm not that I'm opposed for them discussing it, but to add additional time because they haven't looked over the entire last year, I don't see value in that. If they've had a year to look at all the other chapters that we've already approved, I do not see value in that. Yeah, and I'm not going to argue that, but yeah, that's a separate argument. Yes.
Just a question. When we have the vote for full faculty electronically on the changes to the handbook, is it going to be all or nothing? Or so the faculty cannot accept parts of it and not others?
It'll be the entire handbook as a body. And the reason is, as a Senate, we have picked apart every single chapter that the handbook committee has brought forward. And so, and we represent the Senate, as the senators, we represent all of the faculty. So it was our jobs to make sure they were protected as we analyzed each of the chapters. So it will come forward as a whole for a yay or nay electronic vote. Anything else under new business or on that? Okay. The next section, I had none, but does anybody have faculty concerns? I have hands all over. Okay. So let's start over with Mike. Yes.
I will start. Richard Brown's not here, sadly. Just as a pedestrian, I'm greatly concerned about traffic on campus, particularly Oak and Douglas. Got more and more people streaming across that intersection.
Is that by Fletcher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
And it's bad. It's bad for people who are struggling across the street because some cars don't stop. It's bad for the cars because if they do stop, traffic is back as far as you can see in both directions. It's just something needs to happen.
I'm going to speak up to that because the chancellor has left. I went to coffee with the chancellor this week and he spoke about that. He has, we don't control that because it's a city street. So he has met with and also written a letter to Mayor Burke. And also a student was hit last week. And so he reiterated it with Mayor Burke. So something is happening, but it's moving at the city snail space. So it's not that the university isn't aware, but it is a city street. So, but we know your concern. So yes.
Another traffic thing that is on a university street, I have noticed on several days, we have a student or students riding their skateboards down the middle of the street on Vine, doing tricks. One day the young man fell flat on his back, lying in the middle of the road. He's going to hit somebody, or somebody's going to run over him.
I don't think we own Vine either.
Well, it's on campus, so presumably the campus police maybe would be dealing with that, but it's just, it's dangerous. This guy could easily have gotten run over when he was just sort of semi-stunned, lying flat on his back in the middle of the road.
You had your hand up. Oh, Jamie.
I've got a faculty concern from a faculty member in our department, if you can indulge me. She asked me to, the faculty member asked me to read this. I did not get an envelope indicating merit pay, merit raise. I've also not been told why. What should this person have done differently to achieve the raise when it was decided in June or July? What would be done for previous year's work? Not fair and demeaning, not to mention demoralizing, plus does not instill a feeling of wanting to perform well this year. This is actually a pay cut for this person due to inflation. This person will continue to do the job to the highest standard because that's who this person is professional, and despicable for needing to work very hard long hours in summers when they may not receive pay. Was there a pot of money for departments that limited raises? What was the criteria that was used to determine the 3% raise for faculty? The email from administration was vague. What does meritorious achievement objectively look like?
Can I ask two things? One is if you could share that with me without the person's name, so we can put it into the record. The other thing I will say is I believe that the chancellor is going to speak about that at the full faculty meeting, but we'll talk about that as that committee on how we might be able to address that. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
want to make 2 comments regarding parking, or I have 2 concerns regarding parking. I did not attend the meeting, but I did view the online video. And one comment that Dave Seidel made was just absolutely wrong. His comment was that faculty and staff would not have a problem finding parking spots because faculty and staff get to campus between 7 and 9 in the morning before students get here. That's just wrong. The other comment that I wanted to make about that was that I really felt that that should be distributed to faculty other than the Senate focus group. And it makes sense to me that if the Senate has a public YouTube channel and that video is out on the public faculty Senate YouTube channel, that faculty should be directed to watch that.
So Deborah, let me tell you that if you haven't read your email, they actually have just put forward a whole information and asked for feedback from everybody.
Okay,
So we were a focus group.
Where is
We got it at UTC Info, I believe, this afternoon, where they asked.
My email with me here at Senate.
Yeah, so it just for clarification, they first wanted small focus groups to get some feedback, and that's why we did it along with ERC and ESC. And now they're asking for everybody, so they refined it a little bit. Now they're asking for everyone's input. So this was not elitist where people got to give feedback. It's just that as you build your way up, you want to make sure that you have a strong product. So I believe that what you're asking for is happening right now.
Okay, was there, since I haven't read it, was there a timeline on that? Because I think the original discussion, either in Senate or what you had sent to us, said that this had to be decided by the end of September.
I believe that was they wanted to meet with us by the end of September so that they could then share it with everyone else. So if you look on, does anybody have it open?
Well, there's an email, the survey just came out today.
And they just
An email
released
came out to
the price.
UTC News today with a survey asking.
Yes,
for input on
parking plan. Is there a date on the end of it?
This email with the survey came out from Chuck today at 2:45 p.m.
Chuck, are you still here? How long is the survey open, Chuck?
I have to admit, I do not know how long the survey is open. I sent a message, but there's an update from David Seidel that also went to the campus that includes the pricing and more information. I can assure you that, just let me say this, make your comments. There are lots and lots and lots of feedback back to us. So.
Okay, I know there are other hands. Kevin.
I'm wondering if you could update us about the general education.
I didn't hear you.
The general education steering committee.
So that I know, and I believe the provost talked about this last time. The chairs are Eva Lewis and Stuart Bankert, but besides that, I do not know anything else. So I can ask. He has left, so I'll have to ask him. But that's all I know at this point. So, yeah.
You have had no. I mean, you have not been asked for input on who should be part of that committee.
No, but they had a committee for last year. I'm not aware that they're making a new committee. They needed new chairs because due to service requirements. I'm going to recognize Charlene in the audience because she's
I just need to clarify, because Francesco confused me. I can share the curriculum 3 different times, and every time we have a different deadline. The deadline is October 15th.
She was right.
We have an archived version of the old set of guidelines that had it as November 1st. I just need to clarify.
So we'll go back and fix that in a minute to make sure it's October 15th.
Deadline for curriculum. And when you are looking for the guidelines, please go to the Faculty Senate website and click on forms. It will take you to the correct guidelines. And when you Google it, you will probably have older versions that are incorrect.
Okay, Don.
One last one. So I had a few faculty come to me about when we invite faculty members to sign up for committees at the end of the year, that they want more reminders. I think they're saying we only get like one email saying.
I sent it 3 times.
I don't know how you would do it, like if there's a way, like, because it's through UTC Learn. Is there a way through UTC Learn to, like, when someone logs in, like, sign up for committee, or to remind them or something like that? I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Yeah, because.
I will say that we had more people fill out surveys. We had 275 faculty.
Right.
And we only needed 140.
Yeah, I know I had some colleagues who didn't sign up for any committees and they were like, well, I never got a notification, and I was like, I'm sure you did, you probably just didn't see it, so.
Start early.
Right, so.
Okay.
Is there a way to add it as like an announcement and you can learn when they?
We will look into that. Okay, any other faculty concern? This is the most I think we've ever had. Okay, moving forward, I do have some important announcements, especially the first one on here. The Board of Trustees met for a retreat on August 17th, and one of the topics was tenure, policy about tenure. And as a result, they are asking each campus for feedback, and they have not given us a lot of time. So they have posted what they're asking us about on UTC Learn in a discussion board. For the Senate only, they've asked that we share the information, but with everyone, but they ask for feedback from the senators because they're most involved in what's been going on. So you can share what it is with your colleagues and get feedback, that's not a problem, but the feedback should come from you. But I've set it up to be anonymous, so you don't have to I don't have to know that you're the person who posted whatever in the discussion board. Just a box to click to make it anonymous, so I won't know what you said. But we're gonna collate all of that stuff, and we only have 1 week to do it. So please, 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 I'll send an email reminder probably tomorrow, just so because of the people who've already left, to make sure people do. But it's a 1-page document with some bullets on it, and they want feedback on those bullets.
Well, could you give us the skinny on sort of what kinds of things they're asking for input on?
It's posted. I'll just go and look. It actually says on the document.
Is there anything controversial?
They just want information. So it says the bullets, the elements of it are the final local review steps and delegation of authority for granting tenure, impact on UT when a faculty member loses appointment with an external entity, clarification of procedures for faculty to challenge a for-cause termination, mechanism and guidelines for administrator salary determination on return to faculty role, review of expedited tenure parameters and timelines, review of early tenure parameters and timelines, and department head development and training requirements. A lot of stuff. But basically they want impact on feedback on these elements is what they're looking for. That's all they gave me. I don't have it. It was a 1-page document. That's all I have. So it's very important that we provide, because our feedback will be different from UTK, which will be different from UT Martin, which will be different from UT Health Science Center. So take an hour and go to the discussion board and post some thoughts, please. I've summarized all the funding opportunities that we have on campus, and internal funding opportunities. I'm planning on announcing this next week, but if you could please share it with your constituents, it's on our website. It's just a button on the website because people are not aware. I've recently learned somebody who's been here 10 years and had no idea that we had faculty grants. So if you click on this, it just opens a file and it has all the internal funding that's available on campus. So with the web links to take you and the deadlines and everything. So if we share that with your constituents. I talked previously about homecoming. There's also a day of service related with homecoming, and then SGA asked me to mention that. So I think we all got an email about it today. And finally, the UTC Diversity Advisory Council is having an Inclusive Excellence Conference. Yes, it's on the Tuesday of fall break, but I strongly encourage you to attend if you can, if you will be around. Those of us who are 12 months are already planning on being there. But I think there will be a lot for you to learn if you are around and want to attend. So that's October 17th, and there's a link to register on the agenda, so you can register directly. All right. Anything else? Announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet. I just want to say that our next meeting, our rest of our meetings will be in here. So I apologize for the Signal Mountain thing. The rest of our meetings will be in here. The next one is October 19th. The full faculty meeting, please, please, please encourage your colleagues to attend that, since we are going to talk about the handbook. That is Tuesday at 3:15. Refreshment starts at 2:45. It's in the UC auditorium. So now, as we move on, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Mike Bell? No objections? So we're adjourned. Okay.